Imagine a name that once struck awe and fear into the hearts of Americans. A name synonymous with unimaginable wealth, unrelenting ambition, and a legacy as complex as it is captivating. John D. Rockefeller wasn't just the world's first billionaire. He was a titan whose empire, Standard Oil, reshaped industries, crushed rivals, and redefined what it means to wield power. This is the electrifying story of a man who rose from the depths of poverty to the pinnacle of wealth, leaving a trail of brilliance, controversy, and philanthropy that still echoes today. Buckle up. This is Boardroom Secrets, bringing you the unfiltered truth about the most formidable magnate in history. A childhood forged in hardship. Let's rewind to 1839. In a tiny, dusty town with fewer than 1,000 souls, where John D. Rockefeller was born into a struggling farming family. Life was tough. Think patched-up clothes, empty stomachs, and a rickety house that barely kept out the cold. His father, William, nicknamed Devil Bill, was a shadowy figure, a con man who wore many hats: peddler, hypnotist, hunter, even a bear-taming showman. Bill was a master of disappearing acts, vanishing for weeks or months, leaving his wife and kids to fend for themselves. He'd return in a flashy horse-drawn carriage, tossing gifts like a twisted Santa Claus, only to vanish again. The catch? Bill lived a double life, selling snake oil as Dr. William Livingston, and even secretly marrying another woman, a betrayal that would haunt John later. With his father absent, John's mother instilled in him a fierce work ethic and deep Baptist faith. By age 10, John was balancing school with farm chores, learning the value of discipline in the harshest of classrooms, survival. Yet, even as a boy, he showed a knack for business. Picture young John trekking into the woods, collecting wild turkey eggs, hatching them, and raising a flock to sell for profit. That small, steady income was a lifeline for his family, a spark of hope in a life of scarcity. But tragedy struck when Bill was accused of assaulting a young woman. With no solid proof, the family still faced the town's scorn, forcing them to flee and start over. John, now carrying the weight of his family's survival, began lending small sums of money and taking on more responsibilities, his dreams of college fading under the pressure of providing for his mother and siblings. The first step into greatness. At 16, John made a bold choice. He dropped out of high school, 2 months shy of graduation, to chase something bigger. Armed with ambition and a meticulous nature, he pounded the pavements of Cleveland, Ohio, knocking on doors of banks, railroads, and trading firms. His youth, barely 16, drew skeptical glances and outright rejections. But John was relentless. After 6 grueling weeks, a small firm took a chance on him as a bookkeeper, impressed by his neat handwriting and precision. September 26th, the day he started, wasn't just a job. It was a personal holiday he called Job Day, more sacred to him than his own birthday. That modest role was his gateway to the business world. John soaked up every detail, handling suppliers, managing invoices, and glimpsing the inner workings of commerce. One day, he watched his boss cut a $4,000 check and lock it in a safe, a moment that ignited his imagination. When entrusted with the safe's combination, John didn't steal, he dreamed. Staring at those stacks of cash, he'd whisper to himself, "I will be rich." His first year's salary? A meager $50, about $1 a day. But his dedication earned a raise to $300 annually, roughly $11,000 today. More than the money, it was independence from his father's shadow that fueled him. With his mother's support, John began to forge a stable life for his family, setting aside 10% of his earnings for charity, a habit rooted in his faith. Seizing opportunity in chaos, by 18, John's reputation as a sharp accountant in Cleveland caught the eye of Morris Clark, a 28-year-old chemist. Together, they launched Clark and Rockefeller, a venture trading grains, fish, and meat. It was a grind, scouring the countryside for clients, but John thrived. His calm demeanor and mature presence earned him the title Mr. Rockefeller, despite his youth. Their business grew, but capital was tight. In a stroke of genius, they spread word of a fictional $10,000 investment plan, creating an illusion of wealth that unlocked $5,000 in bank loans. This savvy move laid the foundation for their success. The Civil War, brutal as it was, became a catalyst for growth. As a devout Baptist and abolitionist, John opposed slavery, but couldn't join the fight. His family of 6 depended on him. Instead, he paid $300 to hire a substitute soldier and supplied Union troops, a pragmatic choice that kept him in Cleveland. The war turned the city into a strategic hub, spiking demand for goods. John's firm quadrupled its profits, hitting $17,000 in 1862, over $500,000 in today's dollars. At 23, he was already a force, but an even bigger opportunity loomed. Oil. The dawn of black gold. In the 1850s, lighting relied on whale oil, an expensive and environmentally disastrous resource. Then, in 1859, oil was struck in Pennsylvania, sparking a black gold rush. Wooden rigs made drilling cheap, and kerosene, a cleaner, brighter fuel, began to replace whale oil. John saw the future. Enter Samuel Andrews, a young chemist with a game-changing sulfuric acid process to refine crude oil into kerosene. John and Morris invested $4,000 in Andrews' refinery, initially as a side project. But when kerosene sales soared, they went all in, abandoning their old business to chase oil. The oil industry was chaos. Boomtowns rose and fell. Prices swung from 10 cents to $14 a barrel. John, unfazed, focused on refining, not drilling, to avoid the volatility. Tensions with Morris, who couldn't handle the uncertainty, led to a split. In 1865, John bought him out for $72,500, $1.35 million today, a risky bet that marked the birth of his empire. A new Pennsylvania oil strike erased supply fears, and John, now in control, was ready to dominate, building an empire with ruthless precision. John renamed his venture Standard Oil and partnered with Henry Flagler, a like-minded strategist with a warlike approach to business. Total victory or nothing. As competition heated up with new refineries flooding the market, John and Henry played dirty. Their secret weapon? Railroad rebates. At the time, oil transport depended on railroads like New York Central, Erie, and Pennsylvania Railroad, the titans of American industry. When Pennsylvania Railroad abandoned Cleveland to favor New York and Philadelphia, it triggered panic among local refiners. John saw opportunity. He struck deals with Erie and New York Central, securing a 75% discount on shipping, $1.65 per barrel versus the standard $2.40. In exchange, he guaranteed steady shipments, boosting the railroad's profits while crushing competitors who paid full rates. These secret rebates gave Standard Oil a lethal edge, turning Cleveland into America's refining capital and sidelining Pennsylvania Railroad. John's strategy was cold, calculated, and devastatingly effective. The Steel Gambit, outmaneuvering Carnegie. By the 1890s, John's wealth was staggering, but he wasn't done. With the help of Frederick Gates, a brilliant Baptist minister turned advisor, and his son, John Jr., he diversified into railroads and mining. Their boldest move? The Mesabi Range in Minnesota, a 120-mile stretch of high-grade iron ore, the lifeblood of steel production. This put John on a collision course with Andrew Carnegie, the Steel King. Carnegie, fearing John's entry into steel, watched as Standard Oil sold cheap, high-quality iron to his rivals. Rumors swirled that John planned a massive steel plant. Panicked, Carnegie negotiated a deal. He'd buy John's iron annually and ship it via John's railroads, with secret payments to seal the partnership. Both agreed not to encroach on each other's turf. Carnegie stayed out of Mesabi, and John avoided building a steel plant. The deal sparked a Wall Street frenzy, with investors betting big on their alliance. Enter J.P. Morgan, who saw a chance to create a steel monopoly. He proposed merging John's iron mines with Carnegie's steel empire into U.S. Steel, the world's first billion-dollar company. When Morgan approached John, the tycoon deferred to his 27-year-old son, John Jr. Morgan expected an easy deal, but John Jr. was unshakable. "Mr. Morgan," he said coolly, "I believe there's a misunderstanding. I'm not here to sell." "I understand you want to buy." Forcing Morgan to name a price, John Jr. secured $88.5 million in U.S. Steel stock, $3.1 billion today. The merger made John a major shareholder, and as U.S. Steel soared, his wealth skyrocketed past $200 million. The fall of Standard Oil, and a surprising win. Standard Oil's dominance, controlling 87% of U.S. refining, drew fierce backlash. President Theodore Roosevelt, eyeing re-election, targeted John's empire to rally public support. Journalist Ida Tarbell, whose father was ruined by Standard Oil, fueled the fire with exposés revealing John's secret railroad deals, bribery, and ruthless tactics. Her articles, laced with personal vendetta, even dug up Bill's scandals, painting John as a villain. His silence only deepened public outrage, transforming him from a mysterious mogul into a symbol of greed. In 1906, Roosevelt launched a massive antitrust investigation. Standard Oil faced 21 state lawsuits and a federal case backed by 1,000-plus pieces of evidence, 444 witnesses, and 12,000 pages of documents. The charges: monopolization, price fixing, railroad rebates, and corporate espionage. On May 15, 1911, the government ordered Standard Oil's breakup into 34 independent companies. It seemed like a crushing defeat, but here's the twist. The dissolution was John's greatest windfall. Holding a quarter of Standard Oil's stock, he gained shares in all 34 new firms. As they hit the stock market, their value nearly tripled. By late 1911, John was the world's first billionaire, outpacing Carnegie. The rise of automobiles and gasoline demand, once a mere byproduct, supercharged his wealth, proving that even in defeat, John came out on top. A legacy of giving and controversy. Now the richest man alive, John turned to philanthropy with the same zeal he applied to business. At 70, he saw himself as a divine steward, tasked with redistributing his wealth for humanity's good. From his first $50 salary, he'd given 10% to charity, a practice he scaled up massively. In 1913, with Gates and John Jr., he founded the Rockefeller Foundation, donating $150 million initially and $540 million overall. Billions in today's dollars. The foundation revolutionized medicine, funding research that saved countless lives from diseases like hookworm and malaria, and built schools across the globe, including elite institutions still thriving today. Yet, John's legacy is a paradox. Critics called his giving a ploy to polish his tarnished image, but he donated anonymously too, driven by genuine faith. His biographer captured it best. His good was as great as his bad. The ruthless monopolist who crushed rivals was also the philanthropist who transformed lives. Love him or loathe him, John D. Rockefeller was a singular force, complex, contradictory, and unforgettable. This is Boardroom Secrets, peeling back the layers of history's most enigmatic tycoon. Stay curious for more untold stories of power and ambition.